It's the Wilk Report. I'm Michael Wilk, coming to you from Cleveland, Ohio, with some updates on actor Jussie Smollet. Got away with pulling a massive hoax on the city of Chicago and the rest of the nation. And the details of this are actually pretty absurd and outrageous, so I'm going to get to the point here. Alright, so last week, NBC News reported that Jussie Smollet, the prosecutors dropped all charges, 16 felony counts of disorderly conduct for making a false report, and it seems that the prosecutor's office made a deal with Smollett. But this is not the end of the story. And let me just read the article here. In a stunning reversal, Chicago prosecutors on Tuesday dropped all charges against Empire actor Jussie Smollett just weeks after he was indicted on 16 felony counts for allegedly filing a false police report. Smollett, 36, was seen arriving at a Chicago courtroom around 10:30 a.m. on Tuesday for an emergency hearing. Following his court appearance, his attorneys released a statement saying that the actor's record has been wiped clean of the filing of this tragic complaint against him. Well, no, it's not exactly tragic, because there's actually witnesses and evidence to the crime in particular. So, but the police were not notified of this, apparently. Police Department Commander Ed Watnicki told NBC Chicago that the reversal of charges was a punch in the gut, and prosecution did not discuss their decision with the police department prior to Tuesday's announcement. That's according to NBC News, which is being a lot kinder to Smollett than I would have been. In fact, legal scholar Jonathan Turley, who has weighed in on such things as the Bush war crimes over the Iran-Iraq war, weighed in on March 29th. Basically with regards to celebrity justice. Now, here's the interesting thing, because Turley usually takes a position that celebrity justice, as this phenomenon is known, actually usually goes heavily against celebrities, because they're public figures. The tendency is to charge them with more hostility behind it. They get harsher treatment and fewer benefits, generally speaking. But there are exceptions to every rule, and these include the O.J. Simpson verdict and Michael Jackson. On trials ranging from O.J. Simpson to Michael Jackson to Martha Stewart, I have written on the notion of celebrity justice. Indeed, the objection to celebrity justice has been heard in the United States for decades, as people question if the law applies as equally to the rich and famous as it does to average citizens. The answer is that no, it does not. In most cases, celebrities actually receive harsher treatment and fewer benefits from the criminal justice system. Yet there is no other explanation for the absurd decision to drop all charges in the Smollett case. Smollett sent Chicago and the nation into pandemonium over his claim that two men jumped him on a public street, yelling racist and homophobic insults, as well as "This is MAGA country." The idea that Trump supporters beat a gay African-American actor and then tied a rope around his neck unleashed a torrent of condemnation and protest. Smollett appeared in public in apparent brave defiance of those who abused him. Later, after a citywide search by Chicago police, Smollett's story began to unravel. He was uncooperative with police, and soon two brothers were found to have purchased the rope and other key items from a nearby store that implicated Smollett in the hoax, and a grand jury handed out 16 charges against him. He seemed destined for a well-deserved prison stint until the sudden decision to drop all charges for a token $10,000 fine and community service. Smollett promptly walked out of court and proclaimed he was innocent, and the attack did occur. So there's videotape of Smollett's co-conspirators buying the materials used for the hoax. There are two witnesses who reportedly implicated him. There is forensic and material evidence undermining his account. The only thing missing was a confession. The decision to dismiss was announced by Joe Maggots, or Maggots, however you pronounce it, Cook County's first assistant state's attorney, who explained that the county stood by the charges and the allegations of a hoax. He said prosecutors simply decided to prioritize, quote, violent crime, gun crime, and the drivers of violence, and that I don't see Jussie Smollet as a threat to public safety, end quote. The explanation was as forced as it was false. First, Cook County presumably has not decided to confine prosecutions to violent crimes, or everything from blackmail to bank fraud to tax evasion will be effectively immunized. Second, this was not just any nonviolent offense. Smollett sent a city into crisis and caused the Chicago Police Department to direct huge resources into the search for racist, homophobic Trump supporters terrorizing innocent citizens. Maggots said that the office did not want to use limited resources to go after nonviolent crime, but it already spent those resources in uncovering the hoax and securing 16 charges. All that remained was what looked like a perfunctory trial. Third, Smollett not only used a hoax to try to improve his professional position, but he maintained his innocence after walking free, and his associates attacked his accusers. Finally, and most importantly, this was framed as a hate crime. In Chicago, committing crimes from disorderly conduct to harassment by reason of race or sexual orientation of an individual group or group of individuals is a hate crime. Smollett triggered fear of racist or homophobic attacks through a premeditated, coordinated hoax. His motivation was to use race and sexual orientation to commit a fraud on the city. So, that's Jonathan Turley's first weigh in. And then on March 31st, Sunday, Turley posted a letter from the Illinois Prosecutors Bar Association, representing 1,000 line prosecutors in the state. And the letter says, the Illinois Prosecutors Bar Association serves as a voice for nearly 1,000 frontline prosecutors across the state who work tirelessly towards the pursuit of justice. The events of the past few days regarding the Cook County State Attorney's Office handling of the Jussie Smollet case is not condoned by the IPBA, nor is it representative of the honest, ethical work prosecutors provide to the citizens of the state of Illinois on a daily basis. The manner in which this case was dismissed was abnormal and unfamiliar to those who practice law in criminal courthouses across the state. Prosecutors, defense attorneys, and judges alike do not recognize the arrangement Mr. Smollett received. Even more problematic, the state's attorney and her representatives have fundamentally misled the public on the law and the circumstances surrounding the dismissal. Yeah, the Illinois Prosecutors Bar Association is actually calling the Cook County state's attorney a liar, which she is. And the letter that Turley reproduces goes on to explain why. When an elected state's attorney recuses herself from a prosecution, Illinois law provides that the court shall appoint a special prosecutor. See 55 ILCS 5-/3-9008, parentheses A-15. Typically, the special prosecutor is a neighboring state's attorney, the attorney general, or the state appellate prosecutor. Here, the state's attorney kept the case within her office and thus never actually recused herself as a matter of law. The attorney for Cook County claims to have recused herself. So right off the bat, she lied about having recused herself because she never actually did. Her office actually retained control of the case. The letter goes on to say, additionally, the Cook County State's Attorney's Office falsely informed the public that the uncontested sealing of the criminal court case was mandatory under Illinois law. This statement is not accurate. That's a nice way of saying it's a flat-out lie. To the extent the case was even eligible for an immediate seal, that action was discretionary, not mandatory, and only upon the proper filing of a petition to seal. See 20 ILCS, basically see the law quoted. For seals not subject to Section 5.2 G2, the process employed in this case by the state's attorney effectively denied law enforcement agencies of legally required notice and the legal opportunity to object to the sealing of the file. The state's attorney not only declined to fight the sealing of this case in court, but then provided false information to the public regarding it. The appearance of impropriety here is compounded by the fact that this case was not on the regularly scheduled court call, the public had no reasonable notice or opportunity to view these proceedings, and the dismissal was done abruptly at what has been called an emergency hearing. To date, the nature of the purported emergency has not been publicly disclosed. The sealing of a court case immediately following a hearing where there was no reasonable notice or opportunity for the public to attend is a matter of grave public concern and undermines the very foundation of our public court system. Lastly, the state's attorney has claimed this arrangement is available to all defendants and not a new or unusual practice. There has even been an implication it was done in accordance with a statutory diversion program. These statements are plainly misleading and inaccurate. That's, again, inaccurate is a nice way of saying she lied her ass off. This action was highly unusual, not a statutory diversion program, and not in accordance with well-accepted practices of states' attorney-initiated diversionary programs. The IPBA supports diversion programs and recognizes the many benefits they provide to the community, the defendant, and to the prosecuting agency. Central to any diversion program, however, is that the defendant must accept responsibility. To be clear here, this simply was not a deferred prosecution. Prosecutors must be held to the highest standard of legal ethics in the pursuit of justice. The actions of the Cook County State's Attorney have fallen woefully short of this expectation. Through their repeated misleading and deceptive statements to the public on Illinois law and circumstances surrounding the Smollett dismissal, the State's Attorney has failed in her most fundamental ethical obligations to the public. The IPBA condemns these actions. All right, so, that's the bulk of the letter. But here's the thing, because what ended up happening, according to Turley, was that basically what he and others have reported is that the connections that Smollett enjoyed was basically had to do with being friends with Michelle Obama's former chief of staff, who basically used her pull with Chicago machine politics to get the charges against Smollett dropped. The plea deal he arranged, or whatever deal was made, basically is a violation of ethical practices by the State Bar of Illinois. Anyone else would have had to admit wrongdoing and as part of the deal, but he was allowed to keep claiming innocence even though there's ample evidence against him and witnesses. Now, by comparison, someone else managed to enjoy prosecutorial protection, and that was Jeffrey Epstein. Epstein was given a ridiculously light plea deal for sexual abuse of underage girls. The deal came as various powerful figures, including Bill Clinton, were named as travelers on Epstein's infamous Lolita Express flights to his private estate on the Caribbean island of Little St. James, with young girls who allegedly were used as prostitutes. Epstein had the foresight to implicate powerful males in his activities, and when facing a public trial, then United States Attorney and now Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta cut him an absurd deal to avoid serious jail time and seal the record. The deal was recently declared unlawful, but Epstein avoided a long sentence, his friends avoided an embarrassing trial, and Acosta was later given a cabinet position. Now, and Turley goes ahead, and here's the relevant paragraph. Smollett may also have turned to such back-channel efforts. News reports have alleged that Michelle Obama's former chief of staff, Tina Tchen, and another Smollett associate contacted Cook County State's Attorney Kim Fox to seek her intervention in the case soon after the scandal broke. Fox is accused of keeping the Smollett team informed of developments, and she later had to recuse herself, while she never actually did. That left the matter to her subordinate, Moggetts, who cut a deal for Smollett that drew a rare public rebuke from the mayor and the Chicago Police Department, as well as international outcry. Well, frankly, I don't really give a shit how much of a piss and moan fest that little bitch Rahm Emanuel makes, because he's a corrupt piece of shit. And if there's anything good about this case, is that he ended up being thwarted, because he's departing as mayor, and the runoff election is down to two black women who either one would make the first black woman mayor of Chicago in the city's history. So that's got to be a stick in his eye. Plus, Emanuel went out of his way to protect police officers who routinely brutalize and murder unarmed suspects. So, I really don't give a shit about him. But Smollett has abused the system. He got caught, and he's also now been caught abusing the system to get away with crimes. And it's not just public officials and legal scholars condemning Smollett. Chris Rock went ahead and ripped him at the NAACP Image Awards, and this is according to WrapUp.com. Chris Rock had some fun at Jussie Smollett's expense during the 50th annual NAACP Image Awards Saturday night. The comedian took shots at the Empire star, who had all criminal charges against him dropped last week for staging a hate crime. They said no Jussie Smollett jokes, said Rock while presenting the award for Outstanding Comedy Series. Yeah, I know, what a waste of light skin. You know what I could do with that light skin? That curly hair? My career would be out of here. I would be effing running Hollywood. The joke was met with laughs from the crowd, including Issa Rae and Trevor Noah. What the hell was he thinking? You are Jesse from now on, added Rock. You don't even get the you no more. That you is respect. You are getting no respect from me. Yeah, so let me play the video here real quick that's embedded in the article here.
I guess I gotta present an award that said no Jussie Smollet jokes. Yeah, I know. What a waste of light skin, you know? You know what I could do with that light skin? That curly hair, my career would be out of here. Be fucking running Hollywood. Yes, no, just... What the hell was he thinking? From now on, I ain't never gonna know you're Jesse from now on. You don't even get the you no more. That you was respect. You ain't getting no respect from me. Okay.
Yeah, so, Smollett, of course, didn't bother to show up at Saturday's show, and he lost his award for Outstanding Supporting Actor in a Drama Series to Grey's Anatomy's Jesse Williams. So, but it seems that that there is a double standard here, where if you are rich and powerful, you get away scot-free with committing crimes. And if you're connected, you can have those crimes basically covered up, and the victims of your crimes get no justice. And because with the college admissions scandal that also has been brewing the last couple weeks, Lori Loughlin from Full House, she'll probably get away with a slap on the wrist if she gets prosecuted at all, because she's rich and powerful and connected. And it seems to me that there is a lot of damage that's going to be done, not just to black people in this country, but also to LGBT persons, because Smollett is gay, he's black. Normally people face discrimination whether they're black or, just by itself, or LGBT just by itself. But this, kind of covers two disenfranchised groups who do, in fact, face daily discrimination, beatings, being killed. Black people very often killed by police who then also get away with committing murder. This stuff happens. It's fact. It's reported in the media. And we see that justice is denied because the victims were in a position where they had no power. The police who abuse the power of their badge to basically do whatever they want, commit crimes of their own, they get away with it most of the time. And the only times they seem to get punished is when the victim is white or connected in some way. And I don't think that this is an appropriate case for Smollett supporters to cheer because it gives a black eye to corrupt institutions. No, you want those corrupt institutions to be brought down or changed with cases that have victims who are actually innocent. When you have criminals like Smollett who abuse the system and get away with it, just like George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and their thugs got away with committing all manner of crimes while in office. Bill Clinton, George H.W. Bush, Ronald Reagan, Richard Nixon, Barry Obama, and now Caligula Drumpf getting away with all manner of offenses because they're rich and powerful and connected to the institutions of power. They get away with this stuff. And when you create such a double standard, it creates the impression that there really is no such thing as a rule of law in this country. Because if there was, then these people would all be in prison where they belong. And they're not. They get to walk around free, making money off of their crimes, while ordinary citizens are prosecuted, sent to prison, even killed for even the smallest of infractions, even for nothing at all. Even when we're obeying the law and trying to go about minding our own business, we still end up being victimized and terrorized by those in power. And for Smollett to come out and commit this hoax and file false police reports. I mean, there was nothing actually illegal about the hoax itself, okay? That there's no law against fabricating an attack. But what Smollett did, because he wanted to advance his career and use public sympathy to garner a bigger paycheck, he has gone ahead and used identity politics to advance his own selfish interests. And the result is that from this point onward, he will be held up as an example of black people and LGBT people supposedly making up all the instances in which they've been attacked or brutalized. And the far right gets another weapon, a rhetorical weapon, with which to say, oh no, you didn't get attacked. Looked at Jussie Smollet. That's proof that you guys are all liars and, playing the victim card. And this plays right into the hands of the far right, the Caligula Drumps of the world, the racists, the homophobes. Plays right into it. And Smollett doesn't give a shit because he's got his, and why should he care about anyone else? This is the same mentality that Bill Cosby had, because most of Bill Cosby's victims were black, and they were women, which is, again, double victimization. And the only reason Cosby didn't get away with it is because the evidence against him was so great, and the number of witnesses, credible witnesses against him, were so many that the justice system had to actually work for a change. Same thing with Les Moonves. I mean, most of his crimes were gone past the statute of limitations, so he's likely never going to see the inside of a jail cell. And the only justice that's left is that he lost his job, he lost his bonus, but he's no longer in jail. I mean, he never saw the inside of a jail cell. I'm sorry, and that's the closest thing that we have to any kind of justice. So, if there's any justice that's going to come from this at all, it's going to have to be from this idiot, this selfish, egotistical asshole, never working in Hollywood again. Because he just does not deserve anyone's sympathy. He does not deserve anyone's support. He should not be held up as a victim of racism and homophobia. No, he abused racism and homophobia to further his own interests. So, to me, this is something that really is just, people should be outraged about this. If you want to do something about this, the best thing you can do is just boycott him. Don't buy anything that's associated with him. If he puts his name and his face to some kind of product, don't buy the product, and explain to the makers of that product why you refuse to purchase it, because it's associated with someone who abuses the system. I mean, how many of us have LGBT friends and relatives who face daily discrimination? And now when they try and come forward with their experiences, people don't believe them because of assholes like Smollett. How many people of darker skin hues get brutalized and even murdered in the streets, very often by the people who are supposed to be protecting us? If they come forward, they won't be believed because of this asshole. So yeah, boycott him. Don't buy products, don't watch anything on TV or in film that has him. Make him pay with his career. Don't, and I repeat, do not try to harass him or intimidate. Don't even give him the freaking clicks on his Twitter account, okay? Because he gets off on that stuff. Don't give him the satisfaction of trying to harass him or find out where he lives or trying to get your own form of justice through physical violence or intimidation. Just ignore him. I mean, this asshole, he's a narcissist, and what's the worst thing you can do to a narcissist is ignore him. Don't give him the satisfaction of responding to his antics any further. Just let his career die, is what I'm saying. I mean, I was mildly curious to watch Empire. That was actually on my list of shows to watch and review, but, I no longer have any interest, because any show that would have him on, especially after all this, I just have no interest, because principles have to matter. And I'll actually be doing a response video later this week with regards to another video by another YouTuber with regards to LGBT representation and why it matters in media, because I think that the argument he made, and this is a guy I normally respect. Don't get me wrong. I mean, it's not. I'm not going to be attacking this guy. It's just voicing my own opinion and adding my own point of view as to why the reasons for representation actually do matter. So, but because like I said, I do have LGBT friends and relatives, and I care what happens to them. I have black friends and relatives who matter, and they do not deserve the kind of BS that Smollett has inflicted upon them with this, because now anything that happens to them, when they come forward, fewer people are going to believe them because of this. So, I just, so if, like I said, if you want to get back at Smollett for this, don't. All right. The best thing you can do is just, let his star fade, let his career go into the dustbin. Don't watch anything with him in it. Don't buy any merchandise he tries to sell through advertising deals. Just don't bother, I mean, just, don't help this idiot any more than he's already been helped. Because I just feel that assholes like this who abuse the system and get away with it, the law may not work, but we can. And I think that if you're going to take matters into your own hands, it should be with making sure that this idiot is relegated to the dustbin of history, just fades into obscurity, because the biggest thing that he wanted out of all this is increased fame and increased fortune. And to deny him that because of his actions coming to light, I think is punishment enough. So, anyway, that's my opinion. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you agree, disagree? Keep it civil. If you like what you've heard and you want to hear more, hit the subscribe button and the bell icon to receive notifications whenever we upload new content. And if you want to help improve the channel, support the podcast, head over to our Patreon or Subscribe Star page, become a donor, get the rewards listed in the side columns, help us keep the lights on. Until next time, this is Michael Wilk for the Wilk Report, saying take care, good night, I'm out of here.